Women of Reddit, what's your cringy nice guy story? He wanted to impress upon me what a good guy he was, and he was also too scared to ask me out like a normal person. He killed two birds with one stone by having his split personality tell me it really wanted to kill me, but nice guy was bravely holding it back because he liked me so much. Obviously I fell head over heels immediately. I was friends with a coworker. We had hung out a few times socially after work and got along well, but it never really occurred to me to wonder if he was interested in me. At that point in my life I did not get a lot of male attention, and honestly was pretty cringy myself, but that's for a different thread. Anyway, we were walking side by side and I guess he went to put his arm around me. It surprised me, like that someone is tapping you on the opposite shoulder trick, and I turned abruptly. He took it as incredibly rude, gave me an angry lecture about leading people on and how disgusting you make someone feel when you literally flinch from their touch, and called me a B. Sorry for my reflexes. About a week later another friend came to me at work to let me know that guy was telling everyone I was a W who was sleeping my way through the department. Nice. The dumbest part was that I probably would have gone on a date with him if he'd asked. I just had no idea he was thinking along those lines. Bullet dodged. In high school, a guy I barely knew tried to convince me to tell my parents that I was going to a friend's house but really go hang out with him. I was normally rebellious but got the feeling that my parents would be right in telling me I couldn't spend time with him. I politely rejected his offer and blamed my parents so it wouldn't be awkward, and he retaliated by covering my dad's car in dyed tampons. Patrick, you're a freaking creep. What a waste of tampons. I've seen two guys get into a fist fight at an office Christmas party over who was going to help an intoxicated 27-year-old married woman get home. I managed one of these guys and subsequently found out he had sent her 80 emails in one day with all that "why won't you talk to me, we're friends" etc stuff. He was fired but couldn't see how he had done anything wrong. This actually just happened recently. My good friend from college and I, along with other friends from our program, went out to a bar to celebrate finishing our degree. He kept feeding me shots but I figured everyone just wanted to be drunk and have a good time. The night is coming to an end and I'm quite incapacitated. My good friend frantically approaches me saying that he had just seen a guy put something in my drink, which I had just finished. He told me that I would soon be unconscious and it was best that he take me back to his apartment so he could take care of me. Being heavily drunk and also quite scared, I agreed and he helped me back to his apartment. After making me something to eat and giving me some water, we set up camp for the night on his couch. He put on a movie and he said he would sit and watch me sleep to make sure I didn't throw up or anything. As I started to doze off, he started touching me. First on my feet and knees and then my upper thigh. I confronted him about it and he said after everything he had done he felt he deserved compensation. I laughed it off, but after he tried to make a move again I got angry and we began fighting. He exposed to me that no one had put anything in my drink and it was all a ploy to allow him to make his move. After some more arguing he decided it was best I left, and he kicked me out of his apartment at 3 AM while I was still considerably drunk. This is someone whom I've trusted and spent 4 years being friends with. Safe to say I'll be a lot more speculative with future male friends. That's so freaking rappy and manipulative. Right after high school, a guy came out of the woodworks and told me that he had a crush on me. I thought it was nice, but I just did not like him. He was always buying me presents and dropping them off at my mom's house. I always said thanks, but told him I just wasn't interested. We had the same group of friends so I would see him from time to time. When I would see him he would pull me aside and politely ask me to go on a date with him. I told him that I just didn't see him that way. One day, I ran into him at the store and he asked me out again and I went on this long rant about how I was going off to college and I didn't want to be tied down. He ended up asking me out again. I ended up walking away. He came up behind me and pushed me. He has this evil look in his eye, and I ran to my car and called my mom. He ended up messaging me a couple days later and telling me that he's just mad because God told him I was the one he was going to marry. I blocked him on all social media and my phone. He still managed to get my new address when I moved off to college, and one time he drove almost an hour to my apartment. He knocked on my door and he handed me a bag of my favorite candy. I flipped out like I should have done many times before and I threatened to call the cops and get a restraining order. I've seen him once in the last 7 years with his wife and new baby. I hope he has changed. so not a stereotypical nice guy really, but I met him at a party, gave him a ride home, and after belting out "Don't Stop Believing" together, he asked for my number. We went on one date and texted for a week. Then Saturday morning, I woke up to 50+ texts that started with asking what I was doing, sleeping because I worked in the morning, and went all the way up to I should just kill myself since no one wants to talk to me. I told him that was unacceptable as I had already told him I worked Saturday morning, but even if I hadn't, there's no reason to text me over 50 times. If I'm not answering, I'm not answering. He whined about being so nice and how good he was to me and blah 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 blah. Thankfully, when my friends asked why I was ignoring such a nice guy, showing them the texts was enough for them to drop it. I met him at a party, gave him a ride home, and after belting out "Don't Stop Believing" together, he asked for my number. I always find it way more mortifying when the story starts off with totally normal and cute behavior. I'd forgotten about this until I read this thread. Like a lot of these stories, I've had more than my fair share of nice guys. TM. But this guy was definitely the worst. This guy messaged me on OkCupid. He was 62. Not necessarily a deal breaker, except I was 20 and he was a dozen years older than my parents. I said thanks but no thanks. I was uncomfortable with that much of an age difference. Good luck out there. He flipped. Non-stop messages vacillating between how I would regret this, wheedling, compliments and apologies, and call me a W, a S, a blue baller, etc. Literally dozens upon dozens of messages a day. He was a lawyer. He had ways of making me regret this. I would never do as good as him. No other man would treat me so well, and I'm a W if I say no. On and on. This was many years ago. At the time, you could report someone for harassment on OkCupid, but it didn't stop that person from messaging you. Finally, I told him I would meet him in the city, at a popular college bookstore, at 2 p.m. Wouldn't you know it, I somehow forgot to go. After another day or two of berating for standing him up, he got the hint and disappeared. A 62-year-old lawyer really should think about their public image, should say. A screenshot of harassing communications get out in the public, or to the partners at his firm or something along those lines. I was 21 at a bar doing research for a paper, and this really old, beer gut kind of business looking dude starts talking to me, telling me I'm cute, asking to buy me a drink. I say no thanks, not interested, and he says I'm not pretty enough to reject him. Well, apparently I am. I met a guy one night after a night out, exchanged numbers. He was handsome, seemed normal. We met for dinner, and I was surprised when he brought flowers and a bottle of wine, as it was our first date and we knew nothing about each other yet. Throughout dinner, I noticed that he would ask questions, but not listen to my answers. He seemed in his own world, as if he was preparing his next question. Very robotic. He mentioned that his sister was out of town and he was house sitting for her in the building a few blocks away. Okay, even though he weirded me out a bit, I was young and still felt like things were going fairly well. Anyways, when we left, he was walking me to my car. I was wearing heels, and as such, felt comfortable holding onto the crook of his arm for support as we walked. As we walked, he tried to persuade me to come into the apt building that he was supposedly house sitting. "We'll go up to the rooftop," he said. Best view in Hollywood, which was the clincher for me. BC, it was so corny, and also so creepy. I kept saying no, I have to get up early, etc. When we got next to the building, he tightens his grip on me and said, "What's your problem?" His facade dropped and he looked scary and angry. "I bought you flowers. I brought wine. I paid for dinner," as if he was checking off ABC is supposed to equal D. Then, we were having fun where and we and was pulling me towards the door and twisting my arm. I pulled away from him and literally ran to my car and pulled off. I have no doubt he would have raped worse me if I hadn't. I know this is beyond nice guys, but the way he felt that he had systematically performed his steps and earned more from me, the horror stays with me. That's actually why I don't wear heels on the first few dates. Sometimes you gotta run. I used to work at GameStop and the building was connected to a Starbucks. He recognized me from high school, but was a year under me, so I had no idea who he was. I generally kept to myself. He'd talk to me as I waited for my order and he seemed pretty cool. A couple weeks later he tells me I'm pretty and if we could hang out. I'm engaged, so I told him outright. He promised me that he just wanted to be friends, and I'm, apparently, a very gullible person. He'd get me free Starbucks, tell me I'm a great artist, yada yada. About 2 weeks later he asks me to meet him at a bar because he is upset about something. Trying to be a good friend, I go to comfort him. So, I go to the bar, and he's already drunk. I didn't drink because if things turn sour, I could just leave. He gets all feely on my thigh. I tell him I'm uncomfortable, so he stops, apologizes that he's drunk. I kick his butt at pool and he asks me to go smoke with him. I don't smoke cigarettes, but sure I'll go talk. He pushed me against the wall, kissed me, and put his hand in my pants. I fought him back, but a dude leaving the bar got him off of me. No nice guy will ever be trusted again. There was a customer who came into the coffee shop where I worked. I asked him what he wanted to drink and he moaned, "Something that will fix a broken heart." I forced a smile while he told me that he had been stood up. Again, I smiled through all of it, and when he still hadn't told me what he was going to order, I suggested what I like to drink. He asked what it would cost, and I said, "No charge. Tomorrow's another day." I made his order and went back to finish washing dishes. He came back in and brought me a Cosmo magazine, saying he was a magazine vendor and he thought I might like it and thanks for being nice. I said no problem, wished him a good night and forgot about him. A few days later, my coworker races to the back to tell me this guy was back and blocking our drive-thru. Now, when he came in last time, I had my wedding ring on a necklace because I didn't like to wear it when I was washing dishes. I asked her what he wanted and she said he was demanding to talk to me. I said, "Tell him I'm not here." She says, "He saw your car." Okay, that is creepy. He knew what I was driving. I reluctantly come out after popping my wedding ring on my finger. The guy has a large bundle of carnations and a box of chocolate and is in one of those big old 1970s vans with the little circle window on the back row. I made sure my ring was very visible and made sure to fiddle with it. I came up to the window and asked how I could help, and he saw my ring. His face reddened and his tone became very threatening. "Where did you get that ring?" "This ring? My husband gave it to me on our wedding day 7 years ago." He is P. He begins to bellow at me. "You weren't wearing that last time." "I was. You just didn't see." "Quiet you be." I tease freaking s like you that keep nice guys like me from getting a date. He threw the carnations at the window as we pulled it shut in a panic. He beat on his steering wheel and honked the horn and yelled profanities. We were about to call the police and were locking the cafe doors when he squealed out of the drive-thru, almost knocking the patio furniture over. Yeah, he was a super nice guy. Oh geez. I went to school with a nice guy, neck beard, anime katana sword wielding, Ambidous kinda guy. He would talk about how girls only like the big jock guys and how they neglect the smart intellectuals like him. He also talked about how he was waiting for a girl to be smart enough and good enough for him, which doesn't make any sense at all, but okay. He weighed about 90 pounds, had vampire pale skin and bleach blonde hair which he wore at an awkward too long in the front length so it could cover his eyes. He started hanging around where I would eat lunch my freshman year of high school. No one wanted him around, but we were nice and we would just smile. Anyway, Neckbird would get way close to me, making up reasons to touch me. I am really short so he would set his arm on my head, grab my shoulders just awkward and wanted touching. So I told him to hey maybe don't touch me. He did not get the message. In fact the not so sly hair smelling weird touching increased and I said zip cause I was shy. Well, he got my number from one of my friends and started sending me those creepy asterisk messages. Example. Hey, good looking, walks over to you and puts arm around you. I missed you, runs hand over your soft hair, hugs you, feeling your nice boobs press against my strong manly chest. I didn't respond and they just got worse and worse. He sent me a shirtless photo that nearly blinded me. I texted him telling him what he was doing was making me uncomfortable, but that didn't stop him. I learned how to block someone on Verizon that day. I never told anyone about it. I had to go to 4 years of high school with this kid getting too close, making me so uncomfortable. He sent me a shirtless photo that nearly blinded me. This is a really scary experience and I'm so sorry you were threatened like that. But this line made me laugh so hard. Some guy messaged me online and seemed nice enough. Asked if I'd like to meet up with him. I said sure. He tells me a Starbucks between our places and said he'd see me in 30 minutes. I was like, whoa, not right now. It's 10 PM. He said okay, but he'd like to keep talking to me if it was alright. Few days later this exchange happens over Messenger. Him, hey what's up? Me, NM, how are you? Him, I'm good. Me, good. 5 minutes pass so I assume he was busy for a sec. Him, well if you don't have anything to say you freaking be. Don't let me on and let me think that we can be together. You're nothing but a freaking W anyways. Only W led nice guys like me on. Frick you you freaking W. Yep, nice guy. Met up with a guy from collegiaclub.com and we had planned for a quick bite to eat. I had forgotten my wallet so he came to my dorm room with me to quickly grab it. We get there and he immediately starts looking around at all my off photos etc. around the room. He finds my Homer Simpson slippers and a rooster beanie boo my nephew had left there. He takes the rooster and stuffs it in Homer's mouth and makes it move, as if the slipper was chewing, and says look at me, I am vain. I create suffering for animals so I can feast. Selfish hungry bee. I was speechless but then he opens my drawer and starts throwing makeup around saying this is tested on animals. I am vain. Animals suffer for my beauty and then opened my wardrobe and started throwing clothes around saying these things have been made in sweatshops. My friend called security on him. Tell us more about Vain Lord. I work retail and have for more than 25 years. I once, about 9 years ago, when I worked in a liquor store, had an older customer that would come in and, I thought, play flirt with me. A lot of customers play flirted with me, so I didn't think anything of it. Plus, this guy was, like, twice my age, and I was no spring chicken. I had no idea that he seriously thought we were really flirting. Until one day, he asked me out, not in a regular way, mind you. Oh, no, he said, so, we've known each other for a while. Now, I'll just wait until you're off tonight, and then we can go out. I'll take you to expensive restaurant. I politely declined. He went ballistic. Long story short, the manager banned him from the store for life. Thank God. He was a nice guy but had his friends stalk me in an online MMO after I was late texting him back. He was also super passive aggressive like I see you online, but you aren't responding to my messages. The straw that broke the camel's back was when he showed up at my college campus, which was an hour from where he lived, and wanted to randomly hang out. But he wasn't a creepy stalker, he was just a nice guy I didn't understand. Help, the girl I like won't respond to my emails. Greek letter Omega. You've been visited by the Toothpaste man. For good teeth and fresh breath comment oh fresh. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.